Today we're making pork katsu with chili crunch aioli. Super traditional, served with some cabbage. Making pork katsu, basically just fried pork. For this one, you could use a pork loin. You could use pork tenderloin. This is the tenderloin. But if you were to do the loin, you would want to cut them, and you're probably going to want to pound them out. They're going to be a little bigger. So when you get these, basically you just got to clean off this silver skin. I'm sure you could kind of leave it on, but it's going to be chewy. It's just going to suck. So that's the part you want to get rid of. For this, I have like a little boning knife. We're just going to slide gently under, get through some of this, and then you can kind of pull this part up, and you're not trying to lose any meat. So you're just going to really follow close to that silver skin all the way up. The tenderloin, so tender. In my opinion, one of the most underrated cuts of meat out there. You rarely see it at restaurants. It is super, super, super tasty. I think we're going to get about four ounce portions out of this guy. So we have these. These thinner ones are going to be fine. They're going to cook pretty fast. So we got these two here. These guys, you could split them and make more portions, or I'm just going to gently take them and open them up a little bit, and that's just going to make them roughly the same density as these. So we have that, and like I said, we got the silver skin off, but there's little pockets of fat. Fat's good. Fat's flavor. We're going to start with our flour, and flour has a little bit of salt as well into the egg. Now these ones, there's a few ways you could do it. You could season these ahead of time with some salt, pepper, whatever you want, and then bread them. What we're going to do, like I said, there's a little bit of salt in the flour, but then we'll just go ahead and salt these right when they come out of the fry. While it's still hot, that salt will stick right when it comes out from frying, and that's perfect. And this one you can kind of pat down a little bit too. Make sure that your breading is really adhered. Boom. So you want it to be super crunchy. Not only do things have to taste good, but with cooking, there is kind of an art to it of visually it has to look good. It has to smell good. The things you hear when you're eating, like there's something really beautiful to that you kind of make art with everything, and all your senses are a part of this too. Crunch being a huge one. We have some QP mayo and a little bit of chili crunch. We're gonna mix these together, make a sauce that you can either dip the katsu in, or we're gonna cut up some cabbage. You can make a slaw. You could keep the cabbage fresh if you want to as well. Something else great with fried food, just a little bit of lemon. Simple green cabbage is delicious. Also, one of the things that I think is very underrated. A lot of people just think like cabbage, like you have sauerkraut, you have kimchi, you have all these awesome things that you can do with it. Honestly, you could take this bad boy, rub it with olive oil, salt, pepper, and grill it, roast it, and it's super delicious too. I just think people have a weird thing about cabbage. But just we're gonna cut some thin strips. We're gonna put a little salt and sugar on it as well while it's resting while we're making the sauce. That's gonna not only season it, but it'll soften it a little bit as well. I think this is gonna be more than enough for like 3-4 people. Again, or if you're like me, this is enough for me. I freaking love cabbage. Gonna hit it with a little bit of salt, a little bit of sugar. Cabbage is kind of funky. The sugar kind of helps balance a little bit of that out. And then this part, kind of important, but you're just gonna massage the salt and sugar into it. And then you just let it rest. And there'll be some liquid left. You can drain it. Something you might notice too, like really awesome southern restaurants that have this coleslaw that you can't replicate at home. This is what they're doing ahead of time. That's why it is like softer and has this different texture than just raw cabbage. But now we can set that aside. So sauce, QP. Boom. Have our sambal chili crunch, which this honestly is good on its own too. I like the seaweed. A little nori also is awesome. So this, you're just mixing, it's easy. A little bit of lemon is gonna help not only loosen this up, but it's gonna brighten it up as well. We'll get this mixed. So like we were saying, this would be great just on the plate with the katsu. You can just dip it right in. I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but you can see already so fast that the cabbage started sweating. You can leave this out for about an hour at room temp if you wanted to. You won't want to go much longer than that. And then just drain the liquid. But right now we are at a really good spot to add this. It's going to keep some of that crunch too. So we have some of that mixed in. Beautiful. Not only to up the flavor from this, but it's also just gonna make it look prettier. A very little bit of sesame oil. Green onions that we cut before. And some sesame seeds. Very easy to find toasted sesame seeds somewhere. Now this, you could make ahead of time. You could serve it right away. Adjust the salt however you want. Slaw's done. We have our sauce ready for the katsu as well. This is a dish I think is really awesome also with the Japanese barbecue sauce, or they'll even have specific sauces for katsu, but this works great. So now we fry. So we've been frying a few things today. You'll notice there's little bits of things that fall off when you fry. As long as your oil isn't cloudy, you're gonna be okay to keep using it. You can strain it into another pot and start over. That's totally fine too. But for this purpose, we are A-okay. So we have our breaded pork katsu. Oil is at 350, and again, we're gonna drop away. This one I kind of go a little slower since it's a big piece. I don't want it to stick to the bottom at all, or to stick to each other. So in that instance, you're just starting to create a crust, so it's not sticking to anything. And these, they're a little bigger. It's gonna take about 4 minutes. And again, you can pull it, cut into it, make a couple of them if you want to, but you could also just pull it and use a thermometer, and as long as you're at the right temp, you're fine. I know a lot of people think pork has to be super well done. If you have good quality pork, it can be medium rare and it's delicious. So you can see our breading isn't falling off, and it's starting to get golden brown. The goal is to not burn the breading before they're done. And you can see it's starting to get golden really fast. So we're about halfway there now. One thing, you guys can't feel this, but like these things are like as stiff as can be. They're getting super crunchy, which is very exciting. You can serve it whole, you can slice it. I think if you're gonna eat it right away, slicing is fine. If you're frying it, it's gonna take a minute. Once you cut it, it's gonna start bleeding out juices. You might lose some of that crunch, so leaving them whole is also a great option. Maybe about 1 more minute, but you can see the color is awesome. We're not burning, just making sure that the pork is cooked through. And like I said, this is a really good quality pork. You don't have to worry about it being well done. Will it be fine well done? Yes. Is it fine a little medium? Yes. So really your preference. I know growing up, my mom, everything was well done out of necessity, I think, in her childhood. So that's kind of what I was forced with. And once I learned that you could eat things a little under, kind of changed my life. Probably got me into kitchens a little sooner. I guess if you're nervous about it, you could get to like 150, in between 150, 155, and it's gonna continue cooking a little more once you pull it, and it'll get you to like well done. For me, I'd maybe get it at like 135, 130, and let it kind of come up a little bit, and I think that's about where we're gonna be with these. You could do some nice sea salt. You could even do this and then add a little bit of like Maldon or like a flakier salt. It's gonna add texture too. But we just want to make sure that you're doing this while it's still hot so that the salt adheres. Perfect. All right, so now we can plate up our pork katsu, our slaw. You could use tongs. I like to get in there with my hands. I'm gonna get some of this here. Then we're gonna move into our pork. It's rested for a bit. And since we're gonna be eating it right away, we're gonna go ahead and slice that now. But you can already hear the crunch. Oh yeah. So you can see on this, just barely coming out of pink. So that to me is pretty perfect. So have our pork here. At this point, it's really up to you. You could drizzle some of this sauce on. You can dip it. I think our Japanese barbecue, we'll just hit a little line down the center. So you get a little bit of that throughout. Then we're gonna use our chili crunch aioli. Could dip, I'm just gonna put a little bit on the side. You can dip that yourself. And fried food, awesome with lemon. Serve it with a lemon. You could squeeze 4 people ahead of time, but that's just gonna brighten everything up. And there you have your pork katsu with slaw, lemon, a little Japanese barbecue sauce, and chili crunch aioli.